back, and we have with us over the phone to highlight this important summit Dr. Sharif Amir, Professor of International Relations. Good afternoon to you, Dr. Sharif.
Good afternoon.
A Merry Christmas to you and a Happy New Year.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thank you so much. We're speaking here about an important summit that took place last week, trilateral summit between Egypt, the leaders of Egypt, Jordan and Iraq. And this trilateral cooperation and the mechanism of cooperation among the three countries, and how are they model to joint Arab relations and cooperation?
Well, we know that Jordan, Egypt, and Iraq had previous summits, trilateral summits. This is not the first one. And Egypt urged many projects now to be implemented, such as the electricity project, which will help Iraq to go on with its development process. We all know also that a country like Jordan needs a huge help, economic help, security, also from a big country like Egypt. So we're never late to offer our hand to our brothers in Jordan. King Abdullah II has excellent relations with President Sisi. They always coordinate together what takes place in the region and in the international arena. We also know that there is some urgency now inside Jordan because of some economic troubles and some economic turmoils in some regions in the kingdom. So we have to be there for them. We have to reassure the king of Jordan that Egypt will never abandon its brothers in the region. We all have these troubles. We all have these problems. But that doesn't mean that we will not help each other. On the contrary, look at the EU. They gather their forces, and we have to do the same now. If we will live separately, every country, we will be in great danger. So it's time to make alliances. It's time to work together. And this is what President Sisi said from the first day, before even the Russian-Ukrainian war and all what took place. He said we have to gather our forces because whenever there is problems, we have to stand as one voice and one force. There is another part also in what's taking place in the relations between Egypt and Jordan and Iraq and the coordination. We have two elements. The first element is the new government formed in Israel by Benjamin Netanyahu. And we all know it's a right-wing government, not an easy right-wing government. It has Ben Gvir, one of the hardest hardliners of Israel politics. He's a disciple of Meir Kahane. And we all know that the plan of the creation of a Palestinian state inside Jordan, it means the confederation, is brought up again. So Jordan now has to have friends and allies which would stand against these plans. And the second thing is about Iraq, it's Iran. Unfortunately, we all know that after the U.S. invasion in 2003, Iraq was in the hands of mainly of Iran. And President Sisi made a great effort and made many visits there to tell our brothers in Iraq that they're still in the Arab League and they're still an Arab country. So we all know that Iran is desperate now to gain any footstep in the region. So we have to protect our Jordanian brothers from the confederation of the Palestinian state and protect also Iraq from any loss of sovereignty to Iran.
Yes. Here you spoke about some of the foreign interference in the domestic affairs, where all the three leaders already affirmed their rejection to any of the external interference in the domestic affairs. But here let me ask about this kind of partnership among the three countries and the importance of this this model of interaction among the Arab countries, particularly at the backdrop of all the circumstances that are passing and the developments the world are witnessing. And how do you view the relations between the three countries from one side and the GCC countries on the other hand?
Look, we have to be aware that the current cooperation and now it's not only regional, because in this summit, look, we have the French President Emmanuel Macron who arrived and was present. So it's very important to understand that we don't have any more this closed regional conferences. We have France present because I think that the world now is an open arena for everyone. The summits that you have just mentioned are all related. We all know that Egypt would be included in the G20 after that in the summits. We all know that we are witnessing new changes and transformation on the geopolitical arena and international map. So I think that we have to be aware that we have to work with everyone as Arab countries. Work with the Russians, work with the Americans, with the Chinese, with the EU. And whenever the French president or other president, foreign president from outside the Arab world would be invited, we have to welcome that and work with everyone, because this is a very, very tense period. We know that the upcoming year will be a difficult year economically and politically and militarily, because things were not settled in 2022. And I think that the Arab world would be in the focus of all this storm, because we have the oil, the gas, we have the strategic points like the Suez Canal, the Strait of Hormuz. So this region is very volatile and very important, and we cannot close the doors towards cooperation without the outside world.
Indeed, we can't. Indeed, if we speak about linkages and new alliances that are really starting in the geopolitical scene, then we have to also speak about important summits that took place that preceded this trilateral summit. So there was the Biden or the U.S.-Africa summit that took place at the United States, also preceded by the Arab-China summit that took place in Saudi Arabia. How do you view these moves made by the Arab world in order to expand and find a kind of various relations with all world powers?
Well, if you get back 10 years ago, no one would have imagined that there will be an Arab-Chinese summit inside of Saudi Arabia, which was the strongest ally in the region for the United States and the West and all the Gulf states. No one would have imagined that the Arab world would be dealing with equal partnership with Washington and Beijing. No one would have thought that things would get to this point. This is a great evolution, I think, because Joe Biden, the U.S. president, was present, and the summit was held with all the Arab leaders. And, well, we heard his point of view. He left, and few months later, the Chinese President Xi Jinping was there, and the same leaders, Arab leaders, were present. So it's a strong sign that this Arab world is not anymore a follower, it's a player. We are managing things calmly. We don't want to lose any one of the great poles, whether the West or the East. The main points are being underlined. Iran is a great threat, and the Israeli-Palestinian conflict should be resolved. So, and of course, concerning the exportation of oil, the prices of oil, we have seen that the U.S. administration asked for more production. Their demand was declined. This never happened before. Saudi Arabia and the Emirates refused it because it's not in their interest. And the second thing is that we have also the Arab world saying clearly to the West, we would not side with any party against the other. We would not sanction Russia. We will work also with the Russians. And we seek calm and stability, because no other place on earth, and this is unfortunately, had wars, revolutions, and turmoil like the Middle East. It's the only place which has since 2011 and the Arab Spring. So we went through a lot. So it's time maybe to hear our voice that we need calm and stability.
Right, indeed. Dr. Sharif Amir, Professor of International Relations, we thank you so much for being with us and for your input. And I guess that takes us to the end of this episode of our program, Arab Affairs. Next Saturday would be the eve, or the day before the beginning of the year. And I guess it would be a special episode. Until next Saturday, it's goodbye.